Circles in Time by Diane Adams Taylor, Chapter 1. She was startled awake by the familiar choking feeling of hands wrapped tightly around her throat, stealing her breath away from her. Struggling to open her eyes, she turned to look at the clock to check the time. It was 5 a.m., time to get up. She groaned as she thought of the long day ahead of her after one more night of interrupted sleep. Each night before she fell asleep, she prayed that some of her questions might be answered in her dreams. Another night was over, yet she still had no new clues to help her solve this mystery. The choking sensation had come to her many times. As she neared her 50th birthday, the sensations grew stronger and occurred more often with the new emotion of overwhelming fear. She tried to bring herself back to reality by repeating her usual grounding litany. My name is Faith Lewis. I am a school administrator. I am married and I have one child, a daughter in college. I live in the year 2003 and it is time to get up to go to work. I have many responsibilities that I must tend to before I even go to work. I am alive and well and no one is trying to choke me to death. The sensation I have felt is just part of a nightmare. She swung her legs over the edge of the bed, being careful to be quiet so as not to disturb her husband, who still lay sleeping in the next room. As usual, he was totally oblivious to the panic Faith was feeling. Thinking aloud, Faith said, I wonder if you were the one choking me during the night. A voice in her head responded, maybe. No time to explore that thought right now. Once again, too much work and too many responsibilities faced her in the coming hours. She would just have to put these thoughts away until the end of the day, when she might have a few moments to herself. As she dressed and applied her makeup, she noticed the dark circles under her eyes. She thought to herself, this is becoming ridiculous. The lack of sleep is going to kill me before I am choked to death in a dream. She returned to her jewelry box to find something to lighten her mood. She pulled a favorite antique necklace from the box and placed it around her neck. The sensation of hands around her throat immediately overwhelmed her. Faith grabbed the necklace from her neck and placed it back carefully in the jewelry box. The sensation stopped. Faith then chose a brightly colored pin instead of the necklace and fastened it to her suit jacket. She checked her reflection in the mirror and, once satisfied by her appearance, walked down the stairs into the kitchen. Turning the coffee pot on to brew, Faith put some bread into the toaster while she started packing lunches. The strong scent of burning toast caught her by surprise and she threw the bread away. The acrid smell from the trash can brought a memory from deep inside her brain. A vision flashed into her mind of lying at the bottom of the staircase, unconscious with a fire raging around her. The picture in her mind was so vivid she started shaking uncontrollably. Thinking she was having a mental breakdown, Faith silently asked God for help. Her shaking subsiding, she completed a few moments of deep breathing to quiet and calm her thoughts. Once she was breathing normally, she returned to the task at hand. With her morning routine complete and her husband off to work, Faith drove away from her house and turned the car towards her building where she was employed as a school administrator. With a few moments in the car alone, she had time to reflect on the ongoing nightmare. She tried to remember what she had felt during the dream and analyze what it all meant. The choking sensation was similar to fingers wrapping around her throat. Then after a time, the fingers seemed to loosen from her neck, but her lungs could not extract any oxygen from the stifling scent. Faith had never been able to recreate the sensation as she had this morning when she put the necklace around her throat. The vision of the fire raging around her was a new addition to the nightmare, but it had occurred while she was totally awake. In her mind, things were progressing rapidly and getting much more dangerous. She had to get some help to figure out the meaning of these sensations that had tortured her for so long. She resolved to stop at the library before going home this evening to do some research. For once, she resolved to stop procrastinating and try to get some assistance to solve this puzzle. Her day as principal of an elementary school was spent in its usual routine. Children requiring attention, parents requiring information, and teachers requiring direction. The day sped by, as was the normal pattern. There was no time to think or reflect on her concerns. As the school buses filled with children slowly pulled away from the building, a thought popped into her head. Past lives, someone or something whispered to her as she walked back to the office. Faith walked into her office and shut the door. many questions the teachers usually had at the end of the day could wait until tomorrow. She logged on to the internet and put into words past lives. A number of hits came up on her computer screen. Faith scanned the list of possibilities. Several sites caught her attention, while a handful of authors came up numerous times. She jotted down 4 names that appeared the most frequently in the search. She decided to make a stop at the bookstore on her way home from work. As Faith pulled into the parking lot of the bookstore, a thought came to mind. What if this nightmare is a manifestation of something that happened to me in a former life? How am I going to figure this out so that the nightmare stops? What is this new information about a fire? She hurried into the store and immediately went to a clerk for assistance. After the clerk directed her to the area of the store with books on past lives, Faith started to peruse the shelves to scan the titles. Several titles caught her attention and she pulled them out to check the contents. Because she was completely new at this topic, she had to depend on her gut instinct. Checking the time on her wristwatch, Faith realized she must hurry, so she quickly chose 3 titles and took them to the cash register to pay. Driving home, a feeling of satisfaction rushed over her. Finally, she felt she was being proactive rather than waiting patiently for the dream to end. She resolved to start reading as soon as dinner and the housework were completed. Faith pulled into the driveway, took a deep breath, and closed her eyes for her last moment of calm. She climbed out of the car, now ready to start the second shift of all working women. The evening passed uneventfully. No work problems, no husband issues, and no college traumas from her daily phone call to her daughter, who often needed a mother's wisdom. So Faith was able to go to her bedroom early. She immediately picked up Many Lives, Countless People, the title that seemed to have the most information on past lives from the book she had purchased. A fast reader, she typically skimmed a book the first time and then reread the book a second time if it caught her interest. Following this pattern, Faith started reading. Midway into that book, a section on getting information on trauma in a past life slowed her reading. It detailed a meditation technique to calm the mind and ask for help from the other side in order to understand events or exit points. She mouthed the silent prayer and gave thanks to God for providing her a glimmer of hope. Faith read and reread the passage, all the while memorizing the sequence of the meditation. Eager to begin, she showered and prepared for bed. Since the choking feeling usually came to her during the night, it seemed to make sense to meditate lying in bed with the lights off, so Faith climbed into bed. She began by doing some yoga relaxation exercises to calm her mind and body. Visual images from the memorized passage easily came into her brain as she progressed through the meditation. Feeling her body growing lighter and lighter, she seemed to slip into a twilight sleep. Suddenly, she opened her eyes to find herself in a field filled with multicolored wildflowers. A dusky sky streaked with colors of purple, dark blue, red, and pink was overhead. Someone called her name, and she turned to face the direction of the sound. A subtle white light emanated from the source of the sound. Once her eyes adjusted to the changing light, she saw a young, beautiful woman holding the reins of a chestnut-colored horse. The woman had silky blonde hair flowing freely down the middle of her back. She had large blue eyes with long, dark eyelashes. She was dressed in a pale blue Grecian-style gown with her arms bare. Her skin was light in tone with hints of pink in her cheeks and lips. Slowly, Faith walked towards the woman, who was now reaching out her hand to her. As she approached, the young woman indicated she wanted Faith to mount the horse. Doing as requested, Faith seated herself on the horse. Then the woman started walking with the bridle in her hand, leading the two. Faith's mind immediately filled with questions, and she impulsively blurted several of them out. The young woman turned to her, smiled, and made a gesture to indicate wait. Patience while waiting for answers had never been one of Faith's virtues, and her mind was racing with all the possibilities there were to ponder. However, she did as she was requested, and a great wave of peace descended upon her. The gait of the horse was hypnotic, so when the motion ceased, Faith slowly looked around her. A massive white marble building, tall fluted columns gleamed in the early morning light. The atmosphere around the structure seemingly beckoned her to enter. She dismounted the horse and walked up the steps alongside her beautiful guide. Standing at the entrance of the building was another woman who immediately greeted her and called her by name. This woman appeared to be older than her guide, yet just as beautiful. Faith understood instinctively that the woman wanted her to follow into the building. Once inside, the older woman spoke. "We have been waiting for you, Faith. We have heard you praying, questioning various events and asking for help. We knew you would come to seek the answers in your own time. It is now time to begin. We are inside the Hall of Records, which contains all the information you seek regarding your past lives. What do you want to know first?" Faith considered her words carefully, but immediately went to the source of her most pressing concern, the feeling of being choked to death that had infiltrated her dreams for such a long time. "Why am I awakened from sleep due to this strange sensation, as if I am being choked to death?" she questioned. The older woman did not respond, but instead led her into an enormous room filled with numerous rolls of paper. Walking quickly to a section, she stopped and said, "These are your life charts for your current life on Earth and your many past lives that have gone before. This is where you will find your answers, but not all will be revealed at once. You must learn patience and wait for the time to be right, for each question to be answered. You must also know that nothing will be foretold that pertains to future events in your current life. We will never violate the precept of free will given to you by God. If you were given information about what may be, it would influence your free will, which is forbidden. You need to know this so that you do not ask anything about your future. Now walk with me." Faith was torn by her desire to read the life charts and her desire to obey this woman. She turned to walk with the older woman and followed her outside. No words were spoken until they reached a small granite bench set in a grove of trees. Situated in the center of this wooded area, a flowing brook, tumbling over some rocks, provided them with a soothing background noise. Once seated, the older woman spoke. "You have witnessed something tonight that very few people experience during their lifetime. You do not remember, but you have seen this place many times before between your lifetimes on Earth. Life and death are the same. This is where you come to rest and revive your soul for another life on Earth, if and when you decide you want another experience. People choose to return to another lifetime on Earth because that is where the greatest growth for your soul can be obtained. Suffering in a lifetime always has a specific purpose. Great suffering may bring much spiritual enrichment. You choose the time, the place, the events, and the circumstances of your next life before you leave this side to return to Earth. The people on this side help you make decisions to hasten your spiritual growth and development, but you use your free will to make the choices. Think about what you have learned tonight, and we will talk again." With that said, the older woman was gone.